I stared at the framed photo of Grayson and his wife, Skylar, as his words echoed in my mind. "The child you're carrying, it's mine." The certainty in his voice had left no room for doubt, yet it only deepened the confusion swirling inside me. But why did Lucian's wife tell me Grayson couldn't have children? I looked back at Skylar's image, her eyes seemingly boring into mine with a secretive gleam. "What was going on with you and Grayson?" I silently questioned the photo, my thoughts racing. Why did you cheat on him with his brother? The idea was almost unfathomable, but there it was, staring me in the face, and the more I thought about it, the more pieces seemed to fall into place. Was it because of Grayson's abusive attitude? The question lingered in the air, heavy and suffocating. I had seen the cold, ruthless side of him, the part that seemed to enjoy wielding power and control. But now, after last night, I wasn't so sure. Last night there had been a flicker of something else in his eyes when he looked at me, something I couldn't quite place. For a brief moment it was as if he felt guilty, as if he cared for me. Or was it just because I'm carrying his child? Whatever it was, it had been a genuine emotion, a crack in the armor he wore so tightly around himself. Could there be a reason why he's like this, so aggressive and abusive? The thought nagged at me, refusing to be ignored. What if there was something deeper, something hidden beneath the surface that drove him to be this way? I sighed, the weight of it all pressing heavily on me. If I wanted to uncover the truth, whatever dark secrets it might hold, I had to get closer to him. The only way to do that was to play the role I had been forced into, to step fully into the part of his wife and to gain his trust. Only then could I learn what had truly driven him to become the man he is now. And only then could I find a way out of his twisted game of power and control, reclaiming my freedom. But first, I had to start by getting rid of this photo. Grasping the edges of the frame, I pulled it off the wall, surprised at how heavy it was. The weight of the thick glass and the solid wood backing seemed to mirror the emotional burden it carried. I staggered slightly under its weight but managed to steady myself, my breath coming in short, determined bursts. With a grunt, I dragged it toward the window, pushing it open with my shoulder. I took a deep breath, feeling the cool morning air rush in. With one last deep breath, I hoisted the frame up to the window ledge, my muscles straining as I positioned it over the edge. I watched as it sailed through the air for a brief, suspended moment before it crashed to the ground below, the glass shattering with a loud, resounding crash as the frame hit the ground below, the noise echoing through the stillness of the morning. I stood there for a moment, staring down at the broken remnants of the photo, my chest heaving with the effort. The sight of it, broken and ruined, brought a strange sense of relief, as though I had taken the first step toward freeing myself. Suddenly, men in black suits came rushing over, their guns drawn and pointed outward, their heads whipping around the area for any signs of a threat. Then, almost in unison, they looked up, and their gazes locked onto me. For a heartbeat I froze, my mind racing with the possible repercussions of what I had just done. But then, forcing the anxiety back down, I mustered a small, awkward smile and gave them a tentative wave. The gesture felt oddly absurd given the situation, but it was all I could manage before turning back toward the bed and began tidying up the sheets, smoothing out the creases. Just as I was finishing layering the duvet, the door swung open, and I knew without looking that it was Grayson. His presence was suffocating, filling the room with liquor and oppressive tension that made my skin prickle. I didn't need to turn around to feel the anger radiating off him in waves, but I forced myself to remain calm. The truth was, I had no more energy left to be afraid. Not after everything I'd been through. "Good morning, husband," I said, turning to face him with a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. My voice was steady, soft, almost as if we were discussing something mundane, like the weather or breakfast. Without waiting for his response, I marched towards him, my heart racing even faster. My eyes flickered to the gun in his hand, and I felt a chill run down my spine. Despite the sickening scent of liquor clinging to him, I forced myself up onto my toes and pressed my lips to his in a quick kiss before pulling away, a smile still tugging at my lips. It was a calculated move, something I never thought I'd have the nerve to do. My gaze dropped to the gun still in his hand, and I took a small step back, trying to steady my breathing. "Could you please put that away, husband?" I said, surprising even myself. "The baby doesn't like it." I watched as his face shifted from shock to his usual icy demeanour. His eyes narrowed, and the anger that had simmered beneath him now fully emerged. In a swift, brutal motion, he grabbed my neck, his fingers digging in with a bruising force. I swallowed hard, my pulse racing as I met his cold gaze. With a controlled breath, I reached up, placing my hands gently over his, running them smoothly up and down his arm. My touch was deliberate and seductive. "That's how I like it, Daddy," I murmured, my voice a soft purr. "And I'm in the mood for it." His eyebrows furrowed as he looked down at me, confusion and anger battling for dominance in his eyes. For a moment, I thought he might tighten his grip, but then, as if coming to some realization, he released me abruptly. Without a word, he turned on his heel and strode away, his footsteps echoing in the quiet house. As his footsteps faded, I slammed the door shut and let out a shaky breath, my legs feeling weak as I stumbled back against the wall, struggling to steady myself. Once I had my balance, a small, victorious smile tugged at the corners of my lips. My plan seemed to be working, at least for now. I walked to the bed and sank down onto it, the weight of my actions pressing heavily on me. Lost in a whirl of thoughts about what I'd just done and how it could have easily backfired, a sudden fluttering sensation in my stomach made me jump. I froze, my eyes widening as I focused intently on the strange feeling. The movement happened again, a distinct and unmistakable flutter. My heart skipped a beat, a mix of awe and panic surging through me. With shaking hands, I pulled up my pajama shirt to reveal my stomach. I stared down, my breath catching in my throat as I watched the subtle, almost ethereal movements beneath my skin. It was surreal seeing the baby's movements so clearly. The sight of it was both dazzling and overwhelming. I reached out a trembling hand, gently placing it on my abdomen, feeling the life growing inside me. Despite the tumultuous storm of emotions and the danger that loomed over me, this quiet connection with this child brought an unexpected calm. I closed my eyes, absorbing the reality of the tiny life growing inside me. In that intimate, tender moment, I found a fleeting comfort, a reminder that, despite everything, this baby was mine. The quiet calm was abruptly interrupted by a low, rumbling growl from my stomach. I couldn't help but smile at the sound. I reached down and gently patted my abdomen. "You're hungry, aren't you?" I said softly, my voice laced with affection. "Well, so is Mummy. How about we go grab something to eat?" I pulled my pajama shirt back down, preparing to leave when a sharp, searing pain shot through my lower abdomen. I gasped, clutching my stomach as the intensity of the pain took my breath away. I took a deep breath, trying to calm the tension that might have triggered the pain. "What was that?" I wondered aloud, glancing down at my stomach. "Could it be because I was so happy to see you?" I asked, trying to reassure myself. Taking another deep breath, I attempted to stand and head downstairs. But as I reached for the door handle, the pain struck again with an even greater force, causing me to double over. In a rush of terror, I glanced down to see blood trickling slowly down my legs. My heart pounded in my chest as the gravity of the situation hit me with a jarring clarity. The room seemed to tilt and spin, the walls closing in on me as I sank back to the floor.